So today we are going to clear the concept of hemodynamics. Okay. Now, if you really want to learn what is hemodynamics, okay, hemodynamics is actually the principle upon which the whole of cardiovascular system rests. Okay. Hemodynamics is actually the whole of every physical laws or every physical phenomenon on which your cardiovascular physiology rests. Clear? Now, this is of very importance. This is because of the fact that every blood vessel and every flow of blood in is actually maintained by this hemodynamics. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. Whenever we talk about hemodynamics, the first thing that should come into your mind is blood flow, right? That means why we are talking about this hemodynamics? Because we want to really know the basics of blood flow. Okay, if you really want to know the basics of blood flow, then you will have to know the hemodynamics. Clear? Now, the first thing you need to understand about blood flow is this, that it is actually a force. Okay, first of all you must understand that blood flow, this whole thing is a force. Clear? It's a force. Okay, clear? Now, if you consider this blood flow as a force, then the first thing you need to understand right now is this, that suppose if hemodynamics explains blood flow, then actually what is blood flow? Can anyone tell me what is actually blood flow? Flow of blood per unit time or unit area with respect to all these things. Okay, now listen. Before you start discussing anything new which no one in this world knows, now listen, what is blood flow? Now if you really want to describe blood flow, you cannot. Why? If you really want to describe blood flow, you cannot, because that blood flow depends on many factors. Clear? Blood flow depends on many factors, and therefore there is no single factor or single definition of blood flow. Clear? But point by point we will actually discuss this. Now listen, if you really want to discuss blood flow, you will have to discuss something called hydrodynamics. You will have to discuss something called hydrodynamics. Okay, something called hydrodynamics. Okay, now if you really want to learn what is hydrodynamics, the first thing you need to learn by heart is something called Ohm's law. You know what is Ohm's law? What is Ohm's law? Can anyone say? There is an intricate relation between this hydrodynamics and Ohm's law. Can anyone say what is Ohm's law? Now listen. According to Ohm's law, the potential difference across a conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing, right? Suppose this is a conductor, okay, and at this point there is a voltage that is V1, and at this point there is a voltage that is V2. Then delta V, that is V2 minus V1 or V1 minus V2, is proportional to the current flowing. Clear? The current flowing through the conductor, right? That means you must understand this thing, that there is a very basic relationship between this hydrodynamics and this analogy. Clear? Now, suppose there is this this proportionality thing, that is delta V, that is difference in potential is directly proportional to the current flowing. Okay, now listen, how we can apply this thing in our hydrodynamics or hemodynamics. Okay, now listen, how we can apply this. Remember this for your entire life. Now listen, suppose this is your blood vessel. Okay, suppose we are replacing this wire with or conductor with a blood vessel. Now how everything will now change? Now listen with all your attention. Now suppose here is a pressure P1 and here is a pressure P2. Clear? And this is actually flow or flow rate. Clear? Now why do you think I should have written here blood, right? Why I have written flow? The same reason why I have written here this flow as current. Why, you know? Now listen, what is actually flowing? In the opposite direction, at what is actually flowing? Electron. That means what? I should have written the flow of electron here, and I should have written the flow of blood here, but why I have written current and why I have written here only flow or flow rate? Now the analogy is very simple, because why we have not written here electrons and why we have not written here blood flow directly? Because the same principle applies to every fluid. These same principles, this analogy is applied to every fluid, not only blood. Clear? Because every fluid have all the characteristics which resemble a blood. Clear? That means they have viscosity, they have specific gravity and all these things. They actually have these things, okay? Clear? Now listen with all your attention. So suppose this is flow. Now listen with all your attention. Now if we want to convert this equation into this scenario, then what will happen? Delta P now is directly proportional to the flow, right? Delta P is now directly proportional to the flow, right? Clear? If we go on with this analogy, then suppose here we know, that is when we are dealing with Ohm's law, this will now become delta V is equal to I into R, that is resistance, right? Delta V is equal to I into R, right? Now R is actually what? R is actually resistance. Now in reality R is nothing but a proportionality constant, okay? It is a proportionality constant, okay? Now listen with all your attention. What are proportionality constant? Now listen, proportionality constants are specific things which you cannot define in itself. That means proportionality constants are those things which should be defined with respect to other two things. That means if you really want to know what is resistance, resistance is equals to delta V by I. You will have to, you know, remember like this. So they don't have anything of their own. That means without the conductor there is no resistance, okay? Now listen with all your attention. If we go on like this, then delta P, if we remove the, you know, proportionality sign, then delta P is equals to flow into resistance. Now here also, now listen with all your attention. Now here also resistance is nothing but, the oppositely directed force, which opposes this flow. Now here resistance means what? Here resistance means resistance to the flow of current. Here resistance means resistance to the flow of blood or fluid. Clear? What we have got here is delta P is equals to flow of fluid, in our case it is blood, into resistance, right? Into resistance, right? Now this is very, very interesting, you know, equation. This is a very, very interesting equation. Now listen with all your attention possible. Why we consider this equation as the prima facie or the most important equation of your hydrodynamics or hemodynamics or your cardiovascular system? This is because of the fact that this equation says that if there is no, you know, difference in pressure, this is what? This is actually what? This delta P is representing what? Difference in pressure, right? Okay. This delta P is representing what? Please. This delta P is representing difference in pressure, okay? This delta P is now representing, you know, difference in pressure. A very important and interesting part you need to understand here is this, that if this is, you know, associated with, you know, difference in pressure, this delta P now represents difference in pressure. Now a very interesting part you need to understand is this, that what is this flow representing? You know, this is blood flow or any liquid flow. Now what is this resistance, you know, representing? Now after difference in pressure, After difference in pressure, the most interesting and the most smart way of understanding what is the importance of this resistance is this, that suppose this is your resistance, suppose this is this is the way of representing resistance. Now suppose this is R1 and this is R2. Now these two resistances are in series or parallel? They are in series. But if I draw them like this, if I draw them like this, if I draw them like this, then they are parallel to each other. Now can you tell me why they are parallel to each other in the first case? Suppose this is the case 1. Suppose this is the case 1, okay, and this is case 2. Now can you tell me in the first case why they are series, and in the second case why they are parallel to each other? In series, what changes, voltage or current? And in parallel, what changes, voltage or current? And what remains same, voltage or current? Now listen, probably you don't know, my God. In series, what changes and what remains constant? Now listen, so this is the basic Ohm's law, right? Delta V is equal to I into R. Now listen with all your attention. Suppose you are considering only resistances. Now what will happen? If you connect a battery here, if you connect a battery here, and if you connect a battery here, what will happen? Do you know what will happen? Listen, either voltage or current will change in series. Either volt or current will change in series. In parallel, either volt or current will change. Now listen, in both these cases, if one of them changes, now listen with all your attention, in both these cases, if one of them changes, other remains constant. That's the important thing you need to understand. Now listen, suppose in series, do you know what will change? Do you know what will change in series? Now listen, in series, current remains same. Current through the resistor, current through each resistor remains same. Clear? That means voltage changes. In series, voltage changes. Clear? Okay. Now in parallel, voltage remains constant. Voltage remains constant. In parallel, current changes. Now why I am telling these things? These are of huge importance in hemodynamics. You know why? Now listen. What does this current represent here? What does this current represent here? Now listen with all your attention. What does this current represent here? Actually, if you compare them, then current is actually flow into resistance, right? Current is actually flow into resistance. That means in this case, in this hemodynamic equation or hemodynamic Ohm's law, it is also known as hemodynamic Ohm's law. In this hemodynamic Ohm's law, this F or flow rate or flow is equal to current. Clear? And this resistance remains same. Now, why I have given this kind of physical scenario here? Why This is because of the fact that in your body there are many areas where blood vessel, that means your capillary beds, your capillary beds are actually resistors. Your capillary beds are actually the places which are actually the resistors. Okay, your capillary beds are actually the places which act or behave like resistors. Clear? Now a very interesting part you need to understand here is this, that if your capillary beds are acting like resistors in your body, then how can this capillary resistors or capillary beds in your body be in series or parallel? But fortunately or unfortunately, for you it is unfortunately because you will have to learn it, but unfortunately there are areas in your body where capillary beds are in series, and there are also areas where capillary beds are in parallel. That means capillary beds in reality in your body, capillary beds in your body, capillary beds behave like resistors. Clear? In your body, capillary beds behave like resistors. That means they have an arrangement, okay? That means they have, like resistors, two arrangements, right? They have, like resistors, two arrangement. Clear? They have two arrangements, okay? That means they can be in series or in parallel. Clear? They can be in series or in parallel. Clear? They can be in series or in parallel combination. Clear? Okay. Now listen. When I am talking about capillary beds, the first thing you need to understand is this, that these are actually the areas where gaseous exchange and material exchange takes place. Okay. These are actually, the places where gaseous exchange, actual place where gaseous exchange, okay, let me write it in a single way. Gaseous and material exchange takes place. Okay, material exchange takes place. Clear? Actual place where gaseous and material exchange takes place. Now listen, why we want to learn about this resistor and all these things? Because if there is a problem in your capillary beds, now what will happen is this, then and there, if there is, suppose there is a problem in this series or parallel thing, now what will happen is this, then and there your gaseous exchanges and material exchanges will be hampered in your body. Now clear? Now why we want to learn, now listen with all your attention possible please, why we want to learn about capillary beds in these combinations, series, parallel, why? Now listen, suppose there is a, okay, suppose now in a capillary bed there is a arterial side and there is a venous side. Okay, now listen, suppose I will draw the arterial side with red color. Okay, suppose this is a capillary bed. Okay, this is the arterial side of the capillary bed and this is the venous side of the capillary bed. Okay, now suppose this is your capillary. Now listen, suppose there is another capillary which is present here. Okay, suppose after a certain time there is another capillary which is present here. Okay, now what will happen is this, now what will happen here is this, suppose this is a series or parallel capillary bed. This is obviously a series capillary system. Okay, this is suppose your series capillary system. Okay, now a very interesting part you need to understand here is this, that suppose this is a capillary bed and this is a capillary bed. Okay, now they are of same size, suppose. Okay, I have mistakenly drawn this figure too much small, but I didn't have space. Okay, now listen, suppose they have equal diameters and everything. Now listen, suppose there is an we call it embolism, or now you can call it, suppose you don't know, you are just starting cardiovascular physiology, for the timing you just suppose there is a stopper here. Okay, that means blood cannot flow through. Suppose this is blood, this is the movement of blood, that means blood will flow from here, from here, but when blood will approach here, then it cannot go through this particular thing. Okay, suppose this is a objection to the pathway of blood. Now what will happen is this, that means a particular portion, suppose there is another problem here, that means blood cannot flow. Suppose this is capillary bed number 1, and this is suppose capillary bed number 2. Okay, suppose this is capillary bed number 1 and suppose this is capillary bed number 2. Now in case of series capillary beds, what will happen is this, suppose there is a problem in the pathway. Suppose if these things are not present in these three areas, but they are present here. Suppose these pathways are clear, but they are present here. Suppose there is an objection to the flow of blood here. Then what will happen is this, that CB1, that means capillary bed number, CB2, that is capillary bed number 2 will not receive the blood, right? CB2 will not receive the, CB2 will, or capillary bed number 2 will not receive the blood. That means what is the disadvantage of parallel capillary beds? The disadvantage of parallel capillary bed is this, that if you have got, now listen, if you have got any blockage anywhere, then the other capillary bed which is in series with the first capillary bed which is now affected will also get affected. Clear? Due to this capillary bed will now die because of this. Clear? Now you obviously now know what is the advantage of parallel capillary beds. Okay, now you obviously know what is the importance and advantage of parallel capillary bed. Now listen, suppose this is your parallel capillary bed. Okay, suppose this is your parallel capillary bed. Now you know what will happen, that suppose there is a objection to the blood flow, then what will happen, the entire blood will flow from this capillary, right? The entire blood will now flow from this capillary. Okay, clear? Now why I am saying these things, now listen with all your attention. What I have said, in series what changes? Voltage, right? In series what changes? Voltage, but current remains constant. Clear? Now if you compare these two equations, then what is current? Current is flow. That means in a series, if you disturb series, now listen with all your attention, in series combination, if you disturb, now listen with all your attention, in a series combination, if you disturb the flow, what was constant? Now listen with all your attention. What was constant? Actually? Current was constant in series combination. Now remember this for your entire life. Whenever there is a disturbance, there will be disturbance in the constant set. Okay, that means suppose there is a disturbance in the series combination of capillary beds, then what will happen is this, that what is constant in series, what is that? Current. That means here in this case flow, right? That means you now know that whenever there is a disturbance in the series or whatever it is, suppose there is a disturbance in the parallel, okay, the constant things will be affected. That means in this case the constant is current. That means in this case flow is constant. Now listen with all your attention. In CB2 what will happen, more amount of blood will now enter the CB2 or capillary bed 2. Now what will happen, due to the more amount of blood flowing through capillary bed number 2 because of the blockage of CB1 or capillary bed 1, what will happen is this, there will be the blood will flow with high pressure, right? With high pressure in capillary bed 2. Now this is very important, because if there is a blockage in a series vessel, then suppose this particular end is supplying heart, what will happen? Person will die. But if there is a chance that this particular ending is supplying heart, then the person will survive, but the person will experience high blood pressure, right? Because the pressure of blood flowing into the heart will be high. That's it. Clear? Okay, so that's the importance of series and parallel, arrangement of capillary beds. Clear? Now, you know who actually maintains these, flow of blood? Probable answer is, and the most correct answer is what? Heart, right? Who maintains flow of blood in our body? Who maintains flow of blood in our body? Heart. Now listen with all your attention. You must know that flow of blood is never controlled by heart. Listen with all your attention possible. This flow is never controlled by heart. Never. Never controlled by heart. Never. Okay? This flow of blood is actually not controlled by heart. Actually, it is not controlled by anything. It is only controlled by change in pressure, delta P. Clear? The flow of blood is actually controlled by change in pressure. And now listen with all your attention. This delta P actually is maintained by your beautiful heart. Clear? Now listen. That means your heart maintains a constant pressure head. We will be talking about that, don't worry. Your heart maintains a constant pressure head, and this constant pressure head maintains a constant flow of blood. Clear? Throughout your body. Clear? Am I clear to everyone? Okay. I will be rubbing the board. Can I rub it? Okay. So now we will see that how the blood flow actually depends on the pressure gradient, which is actually controlled by your heart. Clear? Now listen. What you will have to, understand here is this, that suppose this is a long blood vessel. Clear? Suppose this is a long blood vessel. Now listen with all your attention. A very interesting point you need to understand right now is this, that suppose this is actually, the point where the pressure is P1, and this is suppose the other point where the pressure is P2. Now, a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that the equation we are working on is actually, Ohm's law of hemodynamics, right? That is delta P is equals to F into R, right? Now listen with all your attention. Now, a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that suppose this is actually the arterial part, and this is suppose the venous part. Now, listen with all your attention. Now, you will be very much astonished to know that the flow of blood, suppose the flow of blood is now starting from here. You will be very much astonished to know that the flow of blood from here to here. Now listen with all your attention. Flow of blood from here to here changes in many ways. Flow of blood from this point, from this green point to this point changes many times. That is, flow of blood changes, many a times. Clear? That means flow of blood, this mechanism, blood flow changes many a times, because it depends on many things. You will later learn that it depends mainly on, total peripheral resistance. Okay, now listen with all your attention. A very interesting point here we need to understand is this. Then what remains constant from here to here, right? What remains constant is the delta P. Clear? That means pressure remains almost constant when blood is flowing from arterial side to the venous side. Clear? That means what remains constant is pressure. Clear? What remains constant is pressure when blood is flowing from arterial side to the venous side. Clear? Pressure remains more or less constant. Okay? So these two things you need to understand, and you need to at first, put into your mind before you start with hemodynamics. Clear? Hemodynamics is a very large chapter. But before you start, you must understand that pressure remains almost same when blood is flowing from arterial to the venous side. But blood flow itself changes many times, because blood flow depends on resistances, and resistance depends on capillary beds, and there are two types of capillary beds in our body, that is series and parallel, right? Now listen. Now a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that suppose this is delta P, okay? Now I will be writing the same equation. Now listen with all your attention. Suppose this is delta P. Now listen, this delta P is almost always remaining constant, right? This delta P is almost always remaining constant, right? Now what is this? Flow of blood into resistance of blood flow, or resistance to the blood flow, right? Now listen with all your attention. What I have said is this, that pressure remains more or less constant, right? Now listen with all your attention. This point is very, very important. That is, pressure remains more or less constant, right? Now important point here we need to understand is this, that means when flow of blood decreases, to maintain this pressure constant, resistance increases, right? Clear? That means if pressure remains constant on the arterial as well as venous side, when blood is flowing, if the pressure remains constant on the arterial and venous side, that is arterio-venous difference in pressure remains constant, then if flow decreases, listen, if flow decreases, then resistance will increase. Clear? But this is also true if delta P is constant. If delta P is constant, then also this is true that if flow increases, then resistance will decrease, because this is constant. As this is constant, as delta P is constant, therefore when flow will increase, resistance will decrease. Clear? When flow will increase, resistance will decrease. Clear? Now let me give you an example. Suppose delta P is equals to 1. Suppose delta P is equals to 2. Okay, now listen. Suppose delta P now is equals to F into R, which is equal to 2. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. If flow of blood is 2 and resistance is 1, then it is also 2, right? Now listen with all your attention. If flow of blood, decreases, that means if flow of blood becomes 1, then resistance will become 2 and this will remain same, right? That means whenever delta P, whenever flow will increase or decrease, resistance will also increase or decrease to maintain the pressure head constant. Now listen with all your attention. We are introducing a new term, that is pressure head. Okay? We are introducing a new very, very important term, that is pressure head. Right? We are introducing a new term, that is pressure head. Okay? Now a very interesting point here we need to understand is this, that whenever we are talking about pressure head, the first thing that should come into your mind is Poiseuille-Hagen formula or Poiseuille-Hagen relation. Clear? We will be talking about that. But before we deal with this pressure head and Poiseuille-Hagen formula or Poiseuille-Hagen relation, the first thing we need to understand is this: how and why when blood flow decreases, resistance increases. Now listen, we now know why when flow decreases, resistance increases, because we will have to satisfy an equation, right? But in reality, in your body, how this thing is maintained, we will have to try this also. Clear? Now listen. I will be now giving you people two examples. Okay, now listen. You know that something called kidney, everybody have these kidneys, right? Now listen with all your attention. In your kidney, there is an arrangement which is called series capillary bed. Clear? Series capillary bed. Okay. Now, in contrast to your kidneys, your another organ, that is your GI tract or GIT, your GIT have, or gastrointestinal tract have, parallel capillary bed. Okay. Now listen with all your attention. What is the name of this series capillary bed and how this is formed? You already know that. If I tell you that how this series capillary bed is formed in kidney, you already know that. And in GI tract, how this parallel capillary bed is formed, you also know that. You know something called splenic artery and mesenteric artery? Now listen with all your attention. What happens in the kidney and what happens in the GI tract, you must understand. Now listen. In the GI tract, what will happen is this. So in your GI tract, this arrangement is already present. In your GI tract, this arrangement is already present. Now listen, this capillary bed is present in, this arrangement of capillary bed is present in, spleen. Clear? Is present in spleen. This arrangement is present in your small and large intestine. Okay, clear? This arrangement is present in small and large intestine. Okay, this is called mesenteric system. Okay, now listen with all your attention. So in your kidney, this arrangement is already present, but you actually have not. So in your kidney, this arrangement is actually present, already present, but you probably don't know. You know what is this arrangement called? The first one is called, now listen, I will be drawing something here, okay? You now know what is this. The first, capillary system or capillary bed is called glomerular capillary. The first one is called glomerular capillary. Clear? And this is what? This is your proximal convoluted tubule or PCT, right? This is your PCT. Now, what is this? This is called peritubular capillary plexus. Clear? This is called peritubular capillary plexus. Okay, so these two capillary beds are in series combination and these two capillary beds are in parallel combination. Now listen with all your attention possible. Clear? So this is present in your kidney, right? So this is present in your kidney. Now listen, and this is present in your GI tract, okay, in the small and large intestine here. Okay, now listen, what will happen is this. Suppose if there is increase in blood flow here, suppose there is an increase in blood flow here, okay, that means suppose there is V amount of blood, suppose, okay, now listen, suppose there is 5 ml of blood which will plus, this is actually very huge amount. Now listen, it's actually Suppose 5 ml of blood will now pass through this, capillary beds. Now that means 2.5 will pass from here and 2.5 ml will now pass from here. Clear? Right? Now listen with all your attention. Suppose there is a, blockage. That means there is a obstruction to the flow. That means what? That means here what will happen is this: when blood will try to enter, it will actually come back, right? It will actually come back and it will now hit this blood which is entering. That means in this case, in here, what you will see that whenever blood tries to enter here in this area or this region, you will see that there is an extra resistance which is actually applied. That means whenever there is a decrease in flow, resistance now increases. Clear? Now this is also applied in this case. If there is a flow, there is an obstruction in this flow, if there is an obstruction in this flow, right, then what? Resistance also increases. This is totally, seen in series case, but in parallel case it actually works like this. Now a very interesting part you need to understand is this: after this thing, after you know that there are, parallel vessels, parallel capillary beds and series capillary bed, that means capillary beds are like resistors and all these things. Now listen, after all these things, we will now be talking about the pressure head. Clear? We will now be talking about the pressure head and how this pressure head actually maintains the constant pressure and also our blood flow. Clear? Now our discussion is actually, now we will be discussing only about pressure head. Okay. Now before we start our discussion on pressure head, we will have to learn what is this pressure. Now we are actually talking about physiological pressure, that is how physiologists measure and what physiologists mean by this pressure. Okay, I am not talking about blood pressure, don't worry about that. Clear? To be very honest. Now listen, suppose a physicist will always define pressure with a simple equation like this, right? Rho G H, right? Rho G H. Now here the rho means density, G means gravity, and H means height. Now a very interesting point you need to understand here is this: suppose this is a blood vessel. Okay, suppose, now listen with all your attention, suppose this is a blood vessel. Okay, now how can you measure the flow of blood? How can you measure the pressure with which blood is flowing? By simply calculating the difference in pressure, right? By simply calculating the difference in pressure. Now how can you measure the difference in pressure here? A very simple option you have, that is a very simple equation you have, is delta P is equals to what? Flow rate into resistance, or peripheral resistance in this case. But this equation won't work here because you will have to put something which you cannot calculate, that is blood flow. Okay, and peripheral resistance depends on many things. But if you really want to find out the pressure across this vessel, then what you will have to do, what you have is this equation, that is pressure is equals to force per unit area, right? You have this equation, you already know this. Pressure is equals to force per unit area. In physics, this force is called thrust, right? Now listen with all your attention. Very interesting point you need to understand here is this: this force in this case also is actually the blood flow. Clear? But interesting point you need to understand here is this, that in this case you can actually find out this blood flow. But another thing is this: how can you find this area? Now area of this vessel, can you don't have to find out the area of this whole vessel. Why? Because you just need this area. Okay, this cross sectional area. This area is actually what? Not the whole area of this blood vessel. This is actually the cross sectional area, right? This is actually the cross sectional area, right? And as this is just the cross sectional area, you will have to understand now sorry, you will have to understand now, as this is a cross sectional area, therefore you can replace this equation like this, force by pi r square, right? So this is r, simple, right? Clear? Okay. Now why I am talking about so much pressure and all these things, why I am not directly talking about pressure head? Because now understand this, when we are talking about pressure, we are actually not talking about blood pressure. No, that is not that much simple. Now listen, why I am talking about this pressure. Now listen, remember this for your entire life. Pressure, current, all these things, okay, are always, sorry, pressure, voltage, sorry, not current, pressure, voltage and all these things are always defined with respect to something. That means you cannot say this is high pressure. High pressure with respect to what? That means pressure, voltages, these are all comparative things. You will have to compare two things and then you can say this one lies in the higher voltage region, this one lies in the lower voltage region, therefore current flows from high voltage to low voltage, therefore current will flow from here to here. Clear? In pressure also, this is the high pressure area, this is the low pressure area, then all these things will happen. Therefore, blood will flow from high pressure to low pressure area. Clear? Clear? Like concentration also. Now, a very interesting point you need to understand is this. When we talk about physics, now listen with all your attention. When we talk about physics, then change in pressure, when we talk about change in pressure, that is when we talk about delta P, then the P1 is actually the atmospheric pressure, ATMS, okay, atmospheric pressure. Clear? In delta P, the P1, the first pressure is always atmospheric pressure. Now listen with all your attention. I will be surprising you all. Delta P is equals to what? Flow rate into resistance, right? Now in physiology also, this delta P, in this delta P, P1 minus P2, right? This P1 is nothing but, this P1 is nothing but the pressure, that is ATMS, that is atmospheric pressure. Clear? Now 1 ATMS, can you tell me 1 ATMS equals to how much pressure? Stop googling and stop everything, pause the video and tell me 1 ATMS equals to how much pressure? 1 ATMS equals to, if you don't know, shame on you, 1 ATMS equals to 760 mm of mercury or 76 centimeter of mercury. This is 1 ATMS. Clear? Okay. Now we are going to talk about a very interesting scenario of your day-to-day life. Now listen. Suppose this is your now listen, suppose this is your feet. Now here is a blood vessel. Okay, you need not to draw a very much good version of this blood vessel, just an okay version. Okay, now listen with all your attention. Suppose blood is flowing from here to here, right? Now a very interesting part you need to understand. Here is this, that if blood is flowing from here to here, now listen. In real life scenarios, there are actually not a single pressure which is actually helping in blood flow. There are actually 3 pressures which are helping in blood flow. Clear? Now those 3 pressures we will explain one by one. Okay? Now listen with all your attention. The first pressure we will be talking about is the driving pressure. Clear? Now what do you mean by this driving pressure? Can you tell me? What do you mean by this driving pressure? Clear? What do you mean by this driving pressure? Now listen with all your attention. Driving pressure means, very interesting point. Suppose this is actually the flow of blood, okay? This is actually the direction of flow of blood, okay? This is actually the direction of flow of blood, okay? Now a very interesting point you need to understand here. Now in order to calculate the pressure here, very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that suppose this is a reference, suppose this is a reference point, okay? Now listen, suppose this reference point is x1 and this reference point is x2. Now listen with all your attention. As we calculate change in pressure, not the pressure, that means we will have to calculate the pressure in x1 and x2, right? Then everything is all right? Now listen, that is not simple. In physiology, what we do is we actually calculate the driving pressure, right? Driving pressure. Now listen with all your attention. Driving pressure is almost equivalent to delta P by delta X. Now this is your driving pressure. Clear? Change in pressure divided by change in position of the blood which is flowing is actually what? Your driving pressure. Clear? Now why this pressure, suppose blood is flowing from here and now leaves from here. Now why this blood flow from this area is called driving pressure? This is very interesting and important. Why this change of pressure is called driving pressure? This is because of the fact that this pressure actually helps in blood flow. Driving pressure actually helps in blood flow. Clear? Driving pressure actually helps in blood flow. Driving pressure actually helps in blood flow. Okay? Now, a very interesting insight is this. That means driving pressure was enough, right, to calculate blood flow. That means delta P by delta X. But why it is that much tough to calculate driving pressure? Because there are two other factors. What are these? Now listen. Suppose if we look at this blood vessel, then if we have a close look on that, then you must understand that suppose we are not talking about, even if we are talking about capillary also, but suppose in this case we are not talking about capillary, then what we will see is there are two layers. There are two layers of blood vessel. Now listen with all your attention. This distance is really important. This distance delta R is really important. Now listen with all your attention. This is actually R1 and this is actually R2. Now delta R means what? R2 minus R1, right? Delta R means what? R2 minus R1. Now if I do this, that instead of this delta X, I just replace delta X with delta R, that is delta P by delta R. Now this change in pressure now is a very important determinant of total peripheral resistance. This is called this delta P by delta R. This is known by the name of transmural pressure. Transmural pressure. This is known by the name of transmural pressure. Clear? This is known by the name of transmural pressure. Clear? So we have actually discussed driving pressure and the transmural pressure. Okay. Now why transmural pressure is very important? Why transmural pressure is very important? Now listen. Suppose due to your lipid deposition or your LDL deposition, what happens? Suppose due to your lipid deposition, this thing is blocked, this area is blocked. Now R1, suppose, now listen with all your attention. Suppose due to lipid deposition, a part of your lumen is blocked. That means R1 is decreasing. Whenever R1 is decreasing, that means what? This part is becoming smaller and smaller, right? That means your transmural pressure is increasing. Whenever there is an increase in transmural pressure, that means what? Your peripheral resistance is increasing. That means transmural pressure is an indicator, direct indicator of peripheral resistance. Clear? Transmural pressure is a direct indicator, indicator of peripheral resistance. Clear? Now you can actually say something very intelligent. Okay. Now if peripheral resistance increases, blood pressure will increase or decrease. Now listen. Suppose peripheral resistance increases means what? R1 is becoming lower and lower. That means, suppose you have a pipe here, okay? Suppose you have a pipe here, okay? Suppose this is a pipe, okay? Now if you press the, end of this pipe, now this pipe will be squeezed. Now through the squeezed end, the fluid which was actually the fluid which was actually coming out through the squeezed end, the same amount of fluid will come out or different amount of fluid will come out. Now listen, when this particular area is squeezed, then lesser amount of fluid will come out at high pressure. Clear? That means the deposition of lipid is acting like this squeezing, and therefore blood will come out of this area with high pressure. Therefore your BP will increase. That means whenever transmural pressure increases, that means peripheral resistance is increasing, right? Therefore BP increases. Now we will be talking about a very peculiar pressure. So suppose this is your direction of blood vessel, and this is your direction of gravity. So the blood vessel is almost present in a 45-degree angle, right? This third pressure which we are going to discuss right now, they will disappear if this blood vessel will be parallel to the surface. Clear? That means if there is a blood vessel here, then this pressure will not act in this particular scenario. Suppose there is a blood vessel here, this particular blood vessel will not experience the third pressure. Clear? That means this third pressure which we are going to discuss now, this will only appear if there is an angle between the surface and our body. Clear? Now what is this? Now this third pressure is known by the name of hydrostatic pressure. Okay, hydrostatic pressure. Clear? Now what is this hydrostatic pressure? Now listen, suppose this is height, h1, suppose this is height h1 and this is height h2. Okay, now how to calculate hydrostatic pressure? Now listen with all your attention. Hydrostatic pressure is equal to density of blood into the gravity, okay, into delta H. Clear? H1 minus H2. Clear? So these are the three main pressures which we will see when we will be dealing with our blood vessel and blood flow. Clear? So these three pressures actually control blood flow. Clear? Control blood flow. Clear? Okay.